Hi, today I'll cover the show Demon Lord Retry. After 15 years, the MMORPG Infinity game is shutting down. The game's creator, Akira Ono, suddenly finds himself summoned into the game as his character, the Demon Lord Hakuto Kane. As he tries to grasp his situation, he encounters an injured girl fleeing from a demon king Grial, which he easily defeats. The girl, Aku, explains they are in the kingdom of Holy Light, whose people worship the Holy Church and the Angel Cherub. As these are not parts of the original game, Kane reasons that someone in the game must have tried to summon a real demon lord but accidentally summoned him. Aku tells that she is an orphan cast out by cruel villagers as a sacrifice to Grial. At a nearby shrine, Kane finds the mages who summoned him were already killed by Grial, and the shrine's idol cannot send Kane home as this would contradict the wish that summoned him. Instead, it gives Kane a magic ring before turning into dust. Kane takes Aku back to her village, but upon seeing the villagers abusing her, Kane's anger awakens the ring, which offers to kill the villagers. Instead, Kane reveals himself as the Demon Lord, sets the village on fire as revenge, and makes Aku his partner as they head towards the capital. Luna Elegant, one of the 3 holy maidens, seeks out the rumored Demon Lord to defeat him. Wengol and his bandits, the moles, plan to ambush her and increase their reputation. Kane plans to find another shrine idol, hoping a similar being to the one that summoned him could send him back home. The next morning, the moles lay in wait for Luna's envoy, but Kane and Aku fall into the trap first. Kane mistakes Wengol for his boss from the real world, causing them to have a confused conversation. This is interrupted by Luna, who forces the bandits to retreat while Kane realizes he can be injured by Luna's magic. Irritated by her arrogant, childish attitude, Kane defeats her soldiers, then punishes her by spanking her repeatedly and stealing her money. Upon reaching the city, Kane uses Luna's money to rent a room at an inn and buys Aku food and new clothes, noticing Aku's heterochromia. Later, they go dining together, and overwhelmed by his kindness, Aku asks Kane if there was any way she can repay him, but an embarrassed and furious Luna catches up to them to demand the return of her money, but is forced to calmly join them for dinner when threatened with a second spanking. She later insists on sharing their room since it was paid for with her gold. Elsewhere, a second holy maiden approaches the city with her soldiers. Kane asks Luna about the cherub and learns it died after sealing away Grial, but the remaining 2 angels, Ophan and Seraph, are still alive. Luna's older sister, Holy Maiden Killer Queen, arrives in her war chariot with the intent to drag Luna home. Kane comes up with a plan to make money by selling worthless crafted items to an antiques dealer. Luna and Queen bicker while an army of Satanists, believing they failed to summon the Demon Lord, plan to kill both holy maidens, using a miasma sludge sealed in a box called Hades. Luna claims she tamed the Demon Lord, though Queen doubts that a Demon Lord exists. The cult then attacks, and Kane realizes the cultists wear the same robes as the ones who summon him. As the cultists unleash Hades to weaken Luna and Queen, Kane's ring tempts him to murder the maidens, but Kane refuses. The ring paralyzes him, forcing him to swap into another of his Infinity Game avatars, Zero Kirizame, at the cost of Zero controlling himself. Zero defeats the cultists, and Queen instantly falls in love with him after he treats her like a woman instead of a warrior and decides to make him her husband. Zero leaves and turns back into Kane, who is mortified at ever having created such an embarrassing character. Luna decides to continue traveling with Kane and Aku, while elsewhere 2 bounty hunters debate whether to accept a job hunting the Demon Lord, but decide on a bounty on killing sand wolves instead. While traveling aboard Luna's carriage, Kane disguises Luna as a schoolgirl so she won't draw attention. The 2 bounty hunters, Swordwoman Mickett and cross-dressing mage Yukikaze, are in the area hunting sand wolves for their bounty, but the pack is too large and they flee. Kane, who happened to be nearby, defeats the wolves for skill points, then leaves. Kane notices Aku's leg has healed badly, causing her to limp. He uses his skill points to summon one of his NPC aides, Yukarino, a doctor and scientist who, despite being a genius, has an unfortunate sadistic streak and a fetish for young boys. Despite the possibility of Yu going rogue, Kane summons her anyway and finds that in this new world, Yu is still loyal, but has her own free will. Kane decides to keep a close eye on her, forbids her from killing anyone, and discloses his situation. Using her unique skill, Hand of God, Yu fixes Aku's leg in no time, but is scolded by Kane when she asks Aku to dress like a boy. While testing her leg, Aku suggests she has fallen in love with Kane because of his kindness. Kane thanks Yu for her help, and his praise causes the now self-aware Yu to experience happiness and develop a crush on him. Later, as Aku sleeps, she gains a rare magical survival skill called Heroine. Due to defeating the sand wolves so easily, Mikan and Yukikaze are amazed by Kane, though Mikan is irritated they lost the bounty. Meanwhile, Utopia, founder of the Satanist cult, after learning a demon lord killed Grial, decides to appease Hades by offering all the capital citizens as sacrifices. Kane and the others visit Luna's province, specifically Rabbi Village, which is extremely run down as Luna has been letting the Holy Church manage it for her. Kane suspects the church deliberately gave her the least valuable territory to keep her out of the way. He decides to improve the village by adding a hospital and hot spring. He removes the useless church manager and learns the village is populated by demi-humans called bunnies, whom the church consider inferior. The bunnies are struggling to farm the poor quality soil, so Kane uses skill points to provide an unlimited source of water and better fertilizer. Elsewhere, Luna's oldest sister, Holy Maiden Angel White, debates on the danger Kane may pose. Dona, the head noble, is determined to punish Kane to please his fellow nobles, while the head soldier, Martial Arts, prefers to wait and see what kind of man Kane is for himself. Killer Queen barges in, still hopelessly obsessed with Zero, leaving Angel worried about her sister's state of mind. At the Noma Tavern, the S-rank adventurers Mink and Organ debate about the existence of a dragonkin fighting for justice before being given a poster of the Demon Lord, whilst Mink and Yukikaze overhear their talk. Meanwhile, Kane, Luna, and you hold a feast for Aku at the high-class restaurant Artemis in the kingdom's capital to celebrate her leg being healed. They are joined by Everfree Butterfly, a central figure of nobility in the kingdom who Luna explains through Kane's telepathic messaging is a powerful social figure with many connections through the kingdom. Kane decides to attempt to gain her trust, and as he negotiates with her and tells about his improvements to be done at Luna's Rabbi Village, the surrounding area comes under synchronized attacks by the Satanist cult. Kane tells his party to remain calm and stay in the restaurant while he takes care of the trouble. Mikin and Yukikaze are in the midst of the fighting, but Kane comes to their aid and disposes the Satanists, who summon a mid-tier demon called Carnival. Kane easily defeats Carnival and the populace cheers, recognizing him from posters as the Demon Lord. While the previous episode's fighting was happening, Carmia, an assassin disguised as a clown calming down the nobles, approaches Kane's party with the intent to poison them, but Yu scares him away with a magic trick that involves amputating his arms. In another part of the capital, Killer Queen, Mount Fuji, and Martial Arts clear out a horde of undead, and Mink defeats another group of Satanists whilst healing church members. The surviving cultists regroup and summon a demon Prince Orut as their last resort, who lays waste to all the combatants and destroys Angel White's holy barrier. Tron is ordered by Utopia prior to the battle to fly in and dump the Hades miasma onto the combatants, and she does so while Mink and Queen try to hold their ground against Orut. Kane swaps to Zero Kirizame at the last minute and effortlessly defeats Orut, but not before Orut mortally wounds Tron and drains her blood to transform himself into a bestial entity. Zero revives Tron from death, and upon being told she forgot how to smile, encourages her to regardless of her circumstance. Zero defeats Orut once more and strikes a victory pose to the amazement of Tron and the bliss of Killer Queen. Kane discusses with Angel White where he could obtain more information about Seraph, whilst Angel tries to deduce if he is still a legitimate threat to the kingdom and church. Both parties end the conversation on seemingly amicable terms, though Angel was hiding her stress, worrying what Kane's end goal is and wondering how he was able to tame the selfish Luna and defeat Grial so easily, whom Kane called more like a cheap imitation than a demon king. Kane finds he has collected enough skill points to summon a second NPC into the world and unlock the ability to teleport to familiar locations. He and Aku visit the church library to read up on the angels that allegedly created the world, but also to find ways to give himself resistance to magic, which did not exist in the futuristic setting of Infinity Game. A story he reads to Aku about a dog finding rare treasures in a dungeon gives Kane the idea of such a possibility. On their way back, Tron finds Kane and identifies him with Zero, insisting on traveling with him for saving her life. The group teleports back to Rabbi Village, and Kane instantly constructs a hospital and hot springs resort, noting they are somehow still able to operate without a source of electricity, with the intent of employing the residents. He summons his aide Asami Tahara for his fast learning capabilities and marksmanship skills to protect Rabbi Village. Asami Tahara is summoned by Kane late at night and is immediately taken aback by the unfamiliar world around him. Azami is taken into the resort and briefed on the situation, and he is frightened when told Yu is also with them. Azami is tasked with training the residents of the village and managing its upkeep, to which he thinks is too much work, but Kane reassures he has the intelligence for it. When he pats Asami's arm, Azami receives a shock, but declines seeking Yu for help. Yu, Tron, Luna, and Aku greet Asami, while Kane spends the night thinking how to prepare for Everfree's arrival. Kane returns to the capital and sells a music box to Nandan Manan, the antiques dealer he visited before, for 15 gold coins. He then visits Bingo, the tailor whom he bought Aku's clothes from, and requests the making of 20 tuxedos and bunny suits. After establishing a food delivery route to Rabbi Village, Kane retreats back to the inn for the night. Kane swaps to Zero Kirizama for a while and ponders on the time he used to play as him. 1 week later, Eberfree arrives at the renewed Rabbi village. She brings with him Commando Sambo, and Kane recommends Yu to cure his blindness, who uses eye drops. Sambo is overjoyed, and Eberfree pays Yu with a Holy Lambda coin worth 100 gold coins. A flashback from 10 years prior to the show's events shows a 6-year-old Luna with a friend called Eagle rushing to a noble's mansion to buy bread. They are shunned away by the nobles, and Luna retaliates by swearing she'll grow up to be a holy maiden, and they'll get their comeuppance. 2 years later, her training at the church begins at the cost of Eagle being executed for being a demi-human. She officially became a holy maiden at the age of 10 years and was assigned her province, which included Rabbi Village. Seeing a young Kion and Momo reminded Luna of Eagle, so she prayed to Cherub for strength. At this point, Luna's reminiscence is interrupted by Kane and Eberfree approaching the hot springs. Luna takes Eberfree inside. Her enthusiasm has Eberfree deduce Luna's crush on Kane, which she embarrassingly rejects. Eberfree ultimately decides to live in Rabbi Village. Meanwhile, Angel learns of Eberfree's holiday in Rabbi Village, thinking Kane has manipulated her too. The Queen has no concern, saying Angel has yet to find love whilst the other two have. Azami and Yu converse while working on a map of the village future development, Azami noting that Yu's personality has changed and that he refuses to waver to Eberfree's influence. Later, Kane receives a checkup from Yu, which devolves into Yu fondling his body, so Kane abruptly leaves. That evening, everyone feasts and Tron goes to the bath hoping to see Zero, but Kane carries her back to the women's side. After bathing, Aku goes to sleep with Kane, who is later joined by Luna making her own excuses to sleep with him. Kane leaves the village to explore the capital again, leaving a letter behind for Luna and Aku telling them to not look for him. Yukikaze and Mikan encounter him there, and Yukikaze insists on inviting Kane to his favorite tavern, Noma Noma, where everyone treats Kane to food and drink out of gratitude for defeating Carnival. Perturbed by Yukikaze's perverted mannerisms, Kane states he is unfamiliar with the land's customs and adventurer system. Yukikaze and Mikan tell Kane about the guild accepting requests and receiving fees, having monster parts sold, rankings, other guilds competing for the attention of high-rank adventurers and mercenary work. Kane compares this business to professional sports and notes the relative instability of the occupation. Yukikaze also mentions the current state of wartime makes traversing the northern territories difficult. Item classification is also elaborated. Normal, solid, high-end, unique, legendary, and ineffective mass-produced items. Kane decides to travel north, and Yukikaze volunteers, Kane reasoning his need for an experienced guide. At the church, Angel White's anxiety reaches a tipping point. She uses her Omega staff to teleport to Luma to rescue her, but becomes confused at the sight of Rabbi Village undergoing construction. Azami spots Angel, mistaking her for a magician hired for help, and tasks her with moving a supply of magic crystals. Angel eventually meets Luna and is distraught by Luna's unwillingness to leave. Angel is even more unnerved at the sight of Tron, and is forced by Luna to let Kion and Momo escort her to the baths. Believing it's her last chance to pry Luna from Kane's influence, she explores the baths and is surprised to find someone waiting for her. Angel finds Kane at the end of the baths and reluctantly joins him at his insistence. Greatly embarrassed by the situation and flustered at the sight of Kane, Angel attempts to interrogate him over his intentions for deceiving Luna and Eberfree. Kane maintains his composure in front of a naked Angel and responds that they acted out of their own volition. Kane coerces Angel to bathe and drink sake to calm her down. As the two talk, Angel becomes frustrated and breaks down over being called innocent, hard-headed, and ultimately admitting she is incompetent in managing the kingdom well on her own. Kane gives her an angel halo in a final effort to reassure her before leaving, noting she is the only holy maiden able to reflect her title. After the bath, Kane uses his teleport skill and the two reappear back at the capital's castle, which Angel mistakes as the same miracle power she used to go to Rabbi Village. Further compounding this confusion, Kane confides to Angel that the reason he wants to learn about Seraph is because he believes that all phantoms summon him to this world, thinking back to the shrine idol. All of Angel's misunderstandings come together to confirm Kane's identity as Lucifer. As Kane takes his leave, a smitten angel promises to guide Kane back to what he once was. The next day, Kane leaves Asami and Yu to the village care as he departs to the northern city of Rookie with Yukikaze and Mikan. Upon arrival, they are greeted by a group of heroes led by an overweight young man in suspiciously modern clothing, and Kane is repulsed by the sight.